Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we are looking at Decidueye Zoroark. It's another one of those Zoroark variants that really has been getting a lot of attention lately, and I know I posted a picture about this on Facebook just, I think, yesterday, and the list has changed up a little bit, but I've just finished streaming with the deck, and I've been playing it for a few hours. And I also took inspiration from Seagrove's list, where he also went on an impressive PTCGO win streak. And his list was vastly different from mine, and I've sort of merged the two together to come out with this, and I feel we're in a good spot to show off the deck and have some battles with it. So this is potentially the best Decidueye variant that we have in the format right now. Being supported by Zoroark-GX, giving you a good draw engine, is probably the best way to get a Stage 2 going as frequently as possible and get multiple big birds into play, so you can take advantage of Feather Arrow. And not only is Zoroark a good draw engine card, he's also pretty much the main attacker in almost every situation. So it really is a very ability focused deck where you're trying to use Feather Arrows to increase your damage output with Zoroark, so he can punch the active whenever you want, or also he can target down low HP basic Pokemon. So it's a really interesting build, and difficult to play against for a lot of people, I've found, because your output is so varied. You could end up putting more bench Pokemon into play. You can go into both Zoroark, so they're playing around their own bench as well as keeping an eye on your own, on yours as well as their own. As many Decidueye that you could theoretically get out in single turns, and Choice Band on top. So you can really have swingy turns, and it's difficult for your opponent to play around that at times. So I think it's a very interesting and powerful archetype. Who knows, maybe it'll show up in London. This will probably be the last deck I get to profile pre-London, but for those of you who don't know, we do have an OmniPoke Facebook page where I posted a bunch of deck lists. So if you're still ripping your hair out, you can go ahead over to the Facebook and take a look at some of the snapshots I took. They're just PTCGO screenshots, essentially, of all pretty much the top archetypes. So check that out as well. I'm going to link Seagrove's video as well for his own deck list for this archetype, because again, I took some inspiration from him because he's played a lot more of the deck, to be honest. So yeah, let's jump into the archetype. I've rambled for a little while already. So we are playing a 4-3-1 split of Zoroark, as I've mentioned. This is actually the best Zorua because you have DC for Ram, and we're not playing Dark Energy, so we can't use Moonless Madness. 3 Zoroark GX, one of my favourite cards still. Like, he's just so insane. Being able to just draw this many cards gives you great hand advantage and digging potential. That's what you get from the trade ability. Once during a turn, you may discard a card from your hand if you do draw 2 cards. We do have some good discard fodder, and you can really dig hard, looking for mainly DCEs and power supporters like Acerola and Guzma on certain turns, as well as trying to build up as many Decidueye as possible. So trade really helps you get there and actually make it quite a consistent Stage 2 deck, surprisingly. Then we have its main attack, Righteous Beating, for 20 times the amount of each of your Pokemon in play. And this deck fills up the bench very quickly. You're playing 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 basic Pokemon and Stretcher. You can even cycle Stretcher with Hollow Hunts if need be. So we're always going to fill up our bench with as many Decidueye and other Zorua as possible, as well as potentially Tapu Lele a lot of the time. And yeah, 120 as a baseline isn't too shabby. You can shove a Choice Band on top to go to 150, and from there you're going to try and increase it even further with your Feather Arrows. So sometimes you get one-hit KOs on basic EX and GXs, which is great. You can access Leles, and if you're doing pings throughout the game, you're just going to be putting things in range in general. So it's a really good number, and even as a baseline, you hit 120, which is enough to deal with Garbodors, which is actually really important because you also have resistance, and even though we are a really ability-focused deck, we can actually one-hit KO Trash Launch and Garbotox and Garb quite easily with Guzma players, or even if they're just attacking with the Trash Launch itself. So it's good that our baseline is enough to deal with Garbodors, and then we can scale even higher against other decks that allow us to use our abilities, or on turns where we have Field Blower, which is really cool. As a good non-EX attacker, we have the old Mind Jack Zoroark. It does 10 base and 30 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so anyone going for these Brigette plays and using Lele to do so at times can really fall prey to really powerful Mind Jacks. And also we're going to try and swing the prize trade for 7 prize game if we're able to by using this guy. So really, really strong. And oftentimes this is used as our answer after a Gallade is attacking us, because of course when people talk about Zoroark, they say a couple of things. They say Garbodor's an issue and Gallade's an issue. They also say Buzzwole as well, but I'll get on to our answer to Buzzwole in a moment. But everyone says Gallade is what destroys Zoroark, and that's very true. They oftentimes take 2 prizes if you are mainly attacking with him. In the matchup though, we really shouldn't be mainly attacking with Zoroark GX anyway. We should be trying to set up different attackers, trying to go for Miraculous Shine plays with Decidueye, using Latios spread and Lele attacking as well. I'll get into it in a moment, but yeah, Gallade can steal 2 prizes if we have our Zoroark GX chilling on the bench or whatever, and oftentimes the response is going to be standing in, getting a Mind Jack in response, especially if we have some pings from the Decidueye. We should be able to just KO the Gallade, and most Guardy lists are playing Super Rod instead of Rescue Stretcher, so it's actually difficult for them to cycle the Gallade too often. So I don't think it's as terrible as some people lead on, especially if you can just make N work on your side and stuff like that. You can make it work. And again, this Mind Jack is just good in general. Anything committing to their bench, but is also a great way to force a 7-prize game and can quite easily respond after a Gallade's attacked in general against Gardevoir. Then we are going to play a 4-3-4 line of the Decidueye GX, as thick as possible really, because we are still playing a couple of rare candies. We don't want to be playing 4 Dartrix because that's kind of overkill, but 3 is still a very high count because it synergizes with Evosoda, which we'll talk about in a moment. And the 4 Decidueye-GX, the more the merrier on your board, to be honest. He is still such a powerful Pokemon. 240 HP is just ridiculous. Nothing can really hit this in the format right now, so he's pretty much safe. The Feather Arrow ability is still insane. Once during a turn, you may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. And yeah, this just scales up on big EX and GXs that we're trying to take down, as well as starting to target the bench all over the board if you're going for a Devolve approach, which is very much what we will go for against a few archetypes. So bear this in mind. As many Decidueyes as possible is really the aim of the game, and Zoroark is going to help us do that oftentimes. We are, of course, playing a couple of Grass Energy in the deck also, so Razor Leaf does become an option for Grass DCE, just doing a solid 90. And again, when you have this much HP, you can oftentimes get 2 Razor Leafs off, or you can do a Razor Leaf and then Acerola your way out to get some free damage in, which is really cool. And the Hollow Hunt GX is the only GX option we have available in the deck, and it is a really, really important one. Putting 3 cards from your discard pile into your hand is still so strong, especially because we've lost Versus Seeker. It's really good to get some of these power supporters back. You can see that we play fairly low counts of things like Acerola and Guzma, and that's because we are oftentimes reliant on a Hollow Hunt during the game in almost every matchup. So really, really strong. It can also help recycle things like Field Blower against Garbodor variants, as well as other item cards to stay out of range. And it can also recycle energy cards, most notably double Colorless, so we can keep attacking with our Zoroarks, because it is super important. So yeah, the Hollow Hunt is still an absurdly powerful GX attack that we oftentimes have time for during the game, while we're setting up damage with Feather Arrows, buying ourselves extra turns. It really does just work very smoothly in the deck. From there, 2 Tapu Lele-GX just for Wonder Tag, as you know. We're going to try and get the Lele for Brigette. We only play 2. It's actually lower than most builds running around just in general right now. But that's because we want to have bench space for Zoroark pieces and Decidueye pieces. So you try and limit your bench to 1 Lele for the majority of the game if possible, allowing yourself to end-proof in general just with trade throughout the game. So just 2 copies, it means we're unlikely to prize both, so we can still get reliable Brigettes, but we don't want to have more because we'd rather them be any other Pokemon essentially on the board. It can, of course, also attack with Energy Drive, and it is definitely something to bear in mind when you're up against things like Buzzwole and other fighting stuff as well. So Tapu Lele is still an interesting and powerful attacker when combined with Acerola. Then we are going to have the Espeon-EX with the Miraculous Shine. This is being shoved into just about everything that can right now, and this deck actually takes great advantage of it just because we have Feather Arrow. We can cleverly place our damage counters, getting around Mr. Mime, of course, just because this isn't damage from an attack, it's just placing counters. So you can put lots of 60 HP Pokemon in range and then go for a big Devolve play against things like Gardevoir and such. So really, really good throughout the game, and it's great pressure with the Espeon. And we are also playing one copy of Latios. Again, it tends towards the Espeon-EX approach with the breakthrough attack for a double colorless, does 30 to the active and also to one of your opponent's bench. Not quite as good as a Tapu Koko, which can do a 20 spread to everything. So you may be thinking, why are we playing this? Well, really because it's a psychic type, and this really helps out in two occasions. Firstly, you're hitting ×2 against Trubbishes, so early breakthroughs gets a lot more damage counters on the Trubbishes, so you can deal with them later on in the game. So you can make sure that Garbotoxin isn't even around, so you can just start running riot with Feather Arrows. But most importantly, alongside Choice Band, breakthrough can be doing 120 against Buzzwole-GX, and Buzzwole-GX is a threat for this deck. Zoroark, of course, pretty much off limits because he's weak to fighting, especially if they play Choice Band. If they play Fighting Fury Belt, you can actually still use Zoroark-GX in the matchup because you can Acerola bounce and so can they, but it's still a bit of a risk. So in general, we want to be trying to use Latios whenever we can in that matchup to start swinging hard on them. 110 HP is really good against Buzzwole, especially in the early turns, because they really can't do much. So they'll just be Acerolaing and poking you for like 50 or 60, while you'll be hitting them back for 120 and 30 to the bench as well. So much more efficient on your end when we have Acerolas, when we have Rescue Stretcher. I think that's definitely the line that we want to go for. So using a heavy Latios route in combination with building your Decidueyes up and maybe even trying to get a swing with Mind Jack in there during the game, I think it gives us relatively decent odds against Buzzwole. I think you'd still be unfavourable, but Latios gives you the chance, and that's why I'm playing that over Tapu Koko. Onto the items now. Just mentioned Rescue Stretcher, good for recycling the Latios. Espeon as well during the game, and either of your Zoroark pieces, and just in general, getting as many birds back as possible. You can find yourself being close to decking out if you're trading as many turns as, or for like as many turns as possible. And Rescue Stretcher actually helps you not deck yourself out, so it's actually important just in that respect alone. Only 2 copies of Rare Candy, mainly because we're actually so worried about Devolve on our own end that we'd much rather evolve into Dartrix a lot of the time, so we don't just get wrecked by Devolve from the opponent, which is important. But also it does still give us some turbo acceleration to get that little bit of extra damage in here and there. And when you have trade available, you can make these combos work for you. But in general, we still like having a thick Dartrix and Evosoda count. And one of the main reasons for that is that we can get around Potown using Evosoda, which is really cool. That's why we're playing 3 copies in here. It's actually really good in the deck. Seeing as though you can turn 1 Brigette, these things become live very, very quickly. Get yourself into Zoroark, which gets you drawing more cards, and then you're just getting more pieces throughout the game. So it makes you very consistent at getting Zoroark in the first instance, and then everything else falls into place from there. Your excess Evosodas are going towards Decidueye pieces more than likely to get as many of those out into play as possible. 3 copies of Field Blower. It is a high count, but I think it's just too important to not play. There's way too much Garbodor in the format right now. There's Drampa-Garb, there's Gliscopod, there's Buzzwole. There are more variants out there. There's so many different Garbodor builds, and we really do need to tech heavily for them. And also, it's another way around Potown where we want to be physically, manually evolving up, so that's something to keep in mind. We are then going to play 4 copies of Ultra Ball, still super consistent, just naturally. This is what we're going to play. 2 orbs of the Brigette. We like playing 2 because we never mind having the second copy because it's excellent fodder for trade. And playing 2 is just much safer, especially when you're playing a stage 1 and 2 deck. It's pretty important to get our basics out as quickly as possible. 2 copies of Acerola. It's the main source of healing in the deck. It's great to bounce Zoroark, who just requires the 1 attachment of DCE. You can just pick him all up again, put down a new Zoroark, DCE, Choice Band all over again, and literally just wipe off a turn of damage, which is excellent. Again, it can be used with Decidueye as well, especially after a Hollow Hunt. You can just pick up your Decidueye all over again. So Acerola very, very strong there for denying prizes. And basically, the longer the game goes on, the more in favor it gets for you because you gain more and more hand advantage, and you also gain more and more feather arrows. So Acerola really does benefit the deck nicely. Only 2 copies of Guzma. Now we can of course access the bench with Decidueye. That is only in increments of like 2 or 4 most turns. So still having 2 is going to be important. And of course we have the fake Versus Seeker in Hollow Hunt to try and recover it. So I think 2 is just about enough. And from there, we're going to play only 3 copies of Professor Sycamore. That is because once trade is online, oftentimes our hand size gets too big for Sycamore, believe it or not. So sometimes we'll just be trading these away in the late game. But in the early game, this can still help out your teething issues, seeing as though we are playing lots of evolution Pokemon. And 4 copies of N. N is still going to be great. It conserves all of our own resources, and we can still get trades on top of that. So even if it is mid to late game, we can still happily N just to disrupt the opponent, whilst also drawing out of our own bad or like low hand size, because we have trade to get us back into a healthy number. Then for tools, we're going to play 3 copies of Choice Band. It's just, you know, math fixing, so much more damage with Righteous Beating and with Mind Jack in general, which puts less emphasis on getting your Decidueyes up, which is great. And 2 copies of Float Stone in combination with the Guzmas. I think it's pretty much enough to get you out of the active most times. And we also have stand-in to fall back on if need be. It's actually rare that you'll Float Stone your Mind Jack Zoroark, because it's just so efficient at attacking that you want to stand in and attack with it on the very same turn a lot of the time. So this is just another bailout option. So I think 2 Float Stone and 2 Guzma is plenty. And for the energy, we've gone very cheeky here. We are playing 4 double Colorless. Obviously, that is the main emphasis, attacking with our Zoroarks, Latios, and Lele. And only 2 copies of Grass Energy. Back in the days when Decidueye was the main attacker, you'd play something like 4. And even recently, I've cut this down from 3 to 2, because Decidueye literally is here mainly just to get a Hollow Hunt off. I think against Greninja, we're actually quite poor. Even more heavily focused Decidueye builds are quite bad against Greninja these days, because they play Enhanced Hammer and they play Tapu Lele-GX, and both of these are horrible for Decidueye now that we don't have Forest. So I feel like if you actually want to beat you want to beat Greninja, you actually have to play Giratina promo in this deck, and I'm not happy doing that. So I think generally there isn't much else you want to actually attack with Decidueye. It's only really against things like Buzzwole where he becomes an option for you, but even then Devolve is so strong from the Buzzwole that you just have to main Latios, to be honest. So you only have the 2 grass in here just to have the option to Hollow Hunts, and I think 2 is enough, because you can, as I said, you can trade into these things, so you can typically get it on the turns you want it. So only 2 copies, so that we hopefully don't prize them. You could have an excess attachment here or there during the game quite comfortably on your Decidueye, so he becomes an attacking threat with Razor Leaf later down the line, and so that we can access Hollow Hunts, which is, as I've said a lot, really important in the deck, just for smoothing things out overall. And when you have a turn of missing DCE, for example, you can still do stuff, and that's really good. So yeah, I think 2 copies is fine. Obviously it is good against some of the grass weak stuff, gives us an option, but typically you're going to be attacking with other stuff in the deck, so we just need the 2 copies. So let's look at some alternatives. Tapu Koko is going to be one of them. He's just so insane when you're playing a Devolve approach. The only real concern is that Mr. Mime is being played in some evolution decks, and this is something to keep an eye on. Basically, put him in if you feel like you want to go heavy on the Devolve, but don't play him if you think otherwise. Mr. Mime of our own may not be ridiculous, because we are playing multiple stage 1 and 2s. We could try and protect ourselves from a Devolve play. I think the main Devolve artist right now is going to be Buzzwole, so I much prefer playing the Latios to try and aggressively combat the deck, rather than having something passive like the Mr. Mime, where we still pretty much get wrecked with our main attacker getting beaten up all the time. So I think Mime is good enough, especially because we have, you know, 3 Blower, 3 Evosoda. We get around Po-Town pretty easily. So Devolve actually takes a few turns to set up for them, and if you're going aggro Latios, they can be really punished for going down that route. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that's enough. But if there are other Devolve decks out there, which, you know, a few decks are playing like a thin line of Devolve, it can still be a bit of an issue. So maybe Mr. Mime in here can smooth things out a little bit. Onto items, there's a few things I've considered and chopped and changed around with. Special Charge is one of them. I feel just so that you miss DC less during the game, Special Charge can be nice. If you do play Special Charge, you're way less reliant on Hollow Hunt. Without it, I think you have to Hollow Hunt pretty much every matchup. So if you want to go more aggro, potentially Special Charge can go in there to try and help you out. If you want to go more defensive, however, you can go for a Max Potion route. I remember playing Max Potions in my last Decidueye build that was Koko Necrozma focused. Obviously that's less viable now that Mr. Mime's around. But Max Potion is still really good, similar to Acerola, where you're just going to send up Decidueyes and undo the damage they do, so you can get more pings around the board. Very simple stuff. Max Potion can be pretty nice in here. And another interesting one that I have toyed around with and since cut is actually Mallow. Mallow, of course, is a ridiculous combination when being used with trade. So you use Mallow to reset your top 2, and then you trade into those exact cards. It's pretty insane, but it's also quite slow, and also you need to be in a really good spot already to be able to use Mallow. In many cases, you need to already have your abilities online, which is already a challenge in this format, to be honest. And you need to only need 1 or 2 cards. It's obviously great for pulling out DCE and things like Choice Band and maybe getting you into your rare candy combo pieces with Decidueye, but it does feel a little bit win more at times when instead you could be using other powerful supporters like Acerola for undoing damage. And I think on average, if you're in a turn where you could have the choice to either Mallow or Acerola, most of the time you pick Acerola, so that's why we're not playing Mallow in here. And I think that's going to be it for the most part. I can't think of many other good item cards that I could think about playing. I've had a toy around with a few things, so again, check the list that was on the Facebook page. But for now, I feel fairly content. I think from there, you'd just be playing around with counts of things rather than adding in any other cards. So yeah, that'll do, and let's get into some battles with Decidueye Zoroark. As I've said, I've sort of played around with a few different lists now, and it's definitely a fun one to play. So if you're going to London just for the crack and just not too worried about championship points, Decidueye Zoroark could definitely be the play, because it's a very fun deck to go into tournaments with, and you're always constantly thinking and problem solving because you can have this math that adds up on different turns all over the place. So definitely a fun one to test out, and hopefully in some battles we'll see potentially how powerful it can be. So let's jump into it. First of all, we're up against the red zombie. I am going to have to just quickly blow my nose. Unfortunately, I'm coming down with a cold the week before London, which is just so hideous. But don't worry, I'm stocked up with Lemsip as well as a coffee next to me as well. So I'm not getting ill. It's not happening. I've got too much to do, too many people to say hello to. And obviously I'm commentating as well, so illness is not going to happen today. I'm just going to power through and not let that stop me. So looks like we're up against a metal variant of some sort, just based on the sleeves. We do have the one mulligan, of course, and we lead with Latios, and we have a Brigette in our opening hand, which is crazy. So as long as our opponent doesn't N us, we've got an insane start. Especially because we could candy into a Decidueye on turn 2, and also Evosoda into a Zoroark. So looks like we're up against Metagross. This is definitely one of the decks we want to try and devolve if possible. So starting Latios is even really perfect here. So everything coming up trumps for us. And your opponent is going to just go for their own Brigette, which is pretty typical of another evolution deck. So we're going to be able to get our ideal turn 1 off. And yeah, the damage out... Oh, wow, they have Mr. Mime. Okay, this is going to be more difficult for us, but that's absolutely fine. We basically just have to prioritize as many big birds as possible. And that's what we're going to do here. We have all 4 Decidueye. We have our Mind Jack Zoroark. How many Acerolas? Both of our Acerolas. That's really important in this matchup because Metagross with Choice Band is capped at 180, and that's of course less than Zoroark's HP. So we should be golden here to just go for this. Try and get as many Decidueyes out as possible so we can ping things down, because although we're out of range of Metagross, Metagross is also out of range of us. So I think from here, I'm actually fairly content to pass. Yeah, it seems fine to pass. Not a problem. So, this is going to be like a healing, stalling war, basically. The fact that they've had to fill their bench with a Mr. Mime is actually quite good for us. That's one of those hidden things that you don't really see. Like, although Mr. Mime's great for stopping spread, that it's physically taking up a bench space, so that could have been a Lele, a Necrozma, a Beldum, one of those sorts of cards, and now it's just not an option for him anymore. So we're going to see the opponent go ahead grabbing a Matang with an Ultra Ball. 1 Max Potion already in the bin, that's good for us. Going to see a second attachment to the Tapu Lele. For some reason, that's getting powered up. And we are going to see the beacon for double Metagross. And we are going to be able to... There's so many cards I want to play from this hand. It's almost too powerful, this hand. We definitely want to get a Zoroark. I need to check if our stretch is in deck. It is in deck. Okay, so I can get rid of this Espeon. It's weird to get rid of a card that's so powerful in the matchup, but am I content to just grab... Yeah, I'm content just to completely get rid of this hand, rely on our prize plus trade in the following turn, because establishing Decidueye is just so strong. I can't really pass up the chance to have this candy, I don't think. And this is one thing that's can't be underestimated when you're playing a Zoroark deck. That you can go down to a 0-card hand without too much ramification, because you can just have one top deck and then you can trade again, and we're also taking the one prize, so technically we're seeing 4 cards here. So although we have the 0-card hand size, or did have 0 cards, we might still be fine here. And the opponent's going to go into their Tapu Lele, going to grab themselves a Metagross. As we saw them take it off the beacon, we weren't able to find N from our... Well, we didn't even go for a trade. We could have done, but the hand was just too strong. We needed to play every card from our hand. And here's the red candy. I wonder which one they'll go for. Yeah, they're going to go for a different one. Interesting. Let's see a Guzma play. Trying to stall, I guess. They can retreat out if they would like to and get 40 damage in with Lele. Yep, they seem content to do that. Not a bad idea at all, seeing as though we only have 1 card in hand. He's thinking, how likely is it that we're going to hit a Float Stone or an Acerola or a Guzma? And getting a Sycamore off the top is pretty insane. Let's just go ahead and use that. Even though Zoroark is the main attacker, I think just getting down as many of these as possible is really good here. So we'll just do this, spend an Evosoda getting another Dartrix up. Paying retreat here isn't too terrible. Trying to protect our Decidueye. I'm going to start spreading onto this Metagross because it only has effectively 60 HP. If we can go for a devolve play. Bear in mind, of course, we have how good is Acerola for us next turn? It's not great if we can't do it onto a Zoroark. I think the Guzma's probably the worst thing here. Drawing last is actually just a really bad habit. We could have just taken the 2 prizes here, but I think it's overall best to start spreading our things all over the place. I don't mind if he's max potioning a Lele too much. Yeah, they just have energy drive. Oh man, so snotty. Sorry guys. Okay, we're going to start with the trade because there's an obvious thing that we want to get rid of, which is the Brigette. See how many birds we can draw into. Oh my goodness, what a great 2 cards that was. Decidueye, Candy. Now, let's start with peeing on this Lele. So we have some targets to Ultra Ball away and get another Decidueye up. Going to promote his Metagross, that's fine. Decidueye number 3 incoming. We're just going to deal with this Beldum, I think. Because that feels pretty good. Limiting the amount of Metagross he can get out is pretty insane. His hand size is so low that I don't want to Acerola. I just want to pressure with the Zoroark. So we'll Sycamore away, I think. Yeah. Yep. Wow, this is going to be insane. It's going to be 4 Decidueyes next turn, potentially. So we'll just go for the Righteous Beating. So I need to Max Potion first, then have Geotech attach. Okay, so they have the Max Potion. Step 1. Step 2. Okay, Lele. So they're actually fine here. They probably need to N us though, because our hand is pretty insane. Yep, they're going to grab the N. What's great though is that we can sort of threaten the Devolve just by having 3 Decidueyes on. Oh my goodness, that's actually like the most insane 2 cards off the end you could even think of. That's actually disgusting. That's just not right. Well, our opponent got everything they could do, really. We just happened to have an absolutely absurd N. Question is, do I want to promote this one? The thing is, I'd much prefer to attack this one for 90 than this one. Is it better for us just to go for a GX attack this turn? I think it might be. Promote this one, evolve, attack. I could just do it with this one, I guess. But I need to Guzma anyway. No, we'll promote this one. We'll spend the Evosoda because we don't want it in our hand or deck or whatever. So if we do it like this, GX attack back, Espeon, DCE, and Sycamore, I guess. That sounds pretty insane to me. We'll see if this Devolve route will pay off. They've got rid of 2 Max Potions already. They can go for their own Tapu GX if they want to this turn. But if they do that, I mean, they're staring down 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 anyway. So they can't even promote the Lele. Oh man, they can go for a Necrozma play. Maybe Devolve us out of the game. But again, if this gets promoted, as long as they can't N, we're fine. Well, it depends how much heal they have in their hand as well. How many Psychic are in the discard pile? 1. So we can go 190 with Prismatic Burst. Okay, looks like they have Lele for N. They have to, really. Pretty good outcome for us. Huh, we can win this turn, right? DC Choice Band on Latios' game. We have got rid of 2 Choice Bands already though, in fairness. Gonna be the Black Ray, lots of damage. He doesn't have space for a thingamajig though. An Espeon. So it's more so that he's just setting up damage for future. How many Guzmas have they been through? 2. We're going to shuffle back 3 Zoroarks because they are good top decks. I think I want to protect the Decidueye. The only thing about doing this is that we then have to find an energy or a Guzma again next turn. I guess Guzma's already game for us, right? If I don't cash in on the Razor Leaf, oh man, okay, I need to think this through. We should still commit to the Devolve as a out to winning. I guess if I attack, he has to attack with a Lele. 2, 4, 6. What can he attack with if I attack? Can't attack with anything unless he max potions again. Which he of course could do. I think attacking's right though. I should have held the Float Stone. Should have committed it elsewhere anyway. I mean, it's playing around N. Maybe I should have just played it on a different Decidueye. How many Field Blowers has he played? Yeah, he only played 1. Maybe holding it was right there. But N proofing is still important at this point. He has 1 left, I think. Yeah, he has 1 left. Does he have another energy attachment? 3, 4, 5, 6 energy gone. They normally play between 9 and 10. Well, he's geoteching before removing damage, so yeah, holding the Float Stone was so definitely right there. Okay, he's going to max potion his bench. Giga Hammer. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. We can end him to 2, which is important. Of course. Trading our own Zoroark away. Oh, it's so bad that we're 10 off, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, 10 off. So, if I hold this hand, 60. So is pinging the Necrozma actually the right thing to do here? I think we have to ping this once so I can do my plays next turn to win. We do 60. So I think we ping this once, and then we just ping the active again and pass. This is getting close. Let's see. They need definitely Guzma. I think they just need Guzma. Yeah. If they can't Guzma, do they Tapu Cure? Oh man. That is rough. That is really rough. I didn't feel like we were going to lose that game. We had 4 Decidueyes up at one point. Insane. Well, we weren't quite able to take them down. Mr. Mime, a huge factor there, in fairness to them. So, 1 loss against Metagross. Wouldn't expect that to be a terrible matchup. What went wrong there? Was my GX attack incorrect? Maybe I should have gone for an extra Guzma instead of the Devolve approach. Maybe that's where we went wrong. Instead of going for Espeon DC, I could have gone Guzma DC float. Potentially that would have been game winning more often. I'll have to look back at that and see. I mean, they had, what, 4 draws, 2 outs and an 18 cards. Oh wow, we have another another Metagross. Let's try and right our wrongs from last game. I've had my lem sip, we're all good. I've got a coffee next to me as well. Staying up late tonight because I'm on Seagrove's Q&A with Russell Lepar. Of course, we're on different time zones. I'm 5 hours ahead, so I'm staying up late for this one. Probably not good for my cold, but don't tell anyone, alright? Okay, they have the turn 1 Brigette plays. Seems good. Ooh, they play Celesteela, interesting. And Magina. So we can't devolve, bear that in mind. But they have put a lot of things that we can KO on the board. I really don't want to end their 3-card hand, but ours is rubbish. And it continues to be. So let's end it there. Right, they have Metang. And just an N straight away back to us. They're also able to Ultra Ball, grabbing a second Metang. Seems good. They have an attachment they can put anywhere. Where would they want to attach? Yeah, they're just going to pass. Picking up Sycamore's pretty good. So we want to Brigette this turn for sure, so we can write as beating the active. The Field Blower is definitely going, it's just whether the grass goes over the Zoroark. I think Zoroark goes over it. Close though. So we won't be trading the grass energy away. We'll just be trying to get, once again, as many Decidueyes up as possible. This time we'll go for double Zoroark. Oh, sorry. Get a Zorua and then 2 Rowlets. And we get to beat him up. Getting rid of one of his potential Metagross this early is very good. That's a nice prize to take as well. Getting us on our quest to getting plenty of Decidueyes up. In comes another Metang. And just an algorithm. Wow, their hand is terrible. Horrendously. Hold on to your hats, folks. We currently can't N. We might be trading pre-Sycamore to see if we can N, depending on our top deck. Oh boy. Otherwise, he's going to have a pretty insane couple of turns. Ultra Balling away a couple of energy, getting a rare candy, getting a Metagross. Getting... I think he needs to take 3 energy, an Ultra Ball, and a rare candy. I think that should be his algorithm. Metal, Psychic, Ultra Ball, rare candy. Unless he has any of those pieces already in his hand. Okay, the Float Stone's probably going to have to be binned here. Yeah, the floats... we should do this first. We want to have as many draws as possible to deny this algorithm. Only 2 ends in deck. Ugh. Ooh. I guess we keep the DCE over the grass energy now, though. Okay. We have a potential Guzma on the Beldum, which I like. It denies pretty much everything he would have been going for with his algorithm. So we did pretty well. Seeing as though it's not an N, this is pretty much the second best answer. Isolating the 1 Metagross is pretty good. Because most of his attackers require lots of acceleration, like the Celesteela. Gonna see an Ultra Ball. So that he can get his Geotex online. Is that Mimikyu? Wasn't even looking. Yeah, it's Mimikyu. It's like a heavily teched Metagross list, it looks like. Choice Band, Geotech. This many techs, I wonder how many max potion he plays. Probably 3? I would assume 3. Alright, let's get rid of a Zorua. Let's get rid of Rowlet. Let's evolve up. So he only has one attachment next turn, so he's going to go into Mimikyu, right? We can't really ping down the Mimikyu, so we'll have to Righteous Beating it. So we should start pinging something like Celesteela that we can't one-hit. I think that's what we got to go for. Makes the most sense to me. Oh, they have Guzma, okay. Not too shabby, especially when our hand's not great. Max Potion on top of that's not too bad either. They actually needed that so they could get the Geotex working. Not bad at all. We can KO this though. Ultra Ball. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I need to stretch a one target back if I want to guarantee the knockout. I actually want to trade away the Choice Band here before I make a decision. Okay, that makes life way easier. Okay, good, 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 good. I'm thinking, is there going to be much time left in this game for me to actually recycle these Zoroarks now that I've filled my bench? And I think the answer is no. So we won't actually Rescue Stretcher. We'll just discard Acerola and Stretcher, grabbing a Dartrix. Trying to thin pre-N as much as possible. Oh wow, that's a nice N. Really nice. When you only play 2 candies, that's actually pretty absurd. Being able to double ping the Mimikyu this turn doesn't actually sound as good as it could be. Double pinging anything doesn't sound great. We have to ping the active once, right? Let's make sure we do that first. So 120, 150, 170. This final ping isn't actually hugely important. I think we'll put it on Megina because it's actually the easiest thing that we can KO with a Guzma beating play. And Guzma's off the prizes. So with only one Metagross in play, he can only go for the copycat. Can they combine it with an N? Or have we wrapped it up with some early KOs on Metagross pieces? Yep, Brigette is an N. So we're there. Max Potion not going to matter. And we get beaten up by our own dude with resistance. Gotta make sure we get as many Decidueyes up as possible to feel powerful. It's not that often you get to play with Decidueyes, you know. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we're able to beat the much more techy list of Metagross, which isn't too surprising. Let's have one more game with the deck, and then we'll be out of here. That was much more routine. So hopefully we'll get into a game. Maybe it won't be Metagross. Seems like everyone in the world's playing that. Oh, it might be a mirror. I see grass and dark. Mirrors get pretty spicy. We'll see. Didn't face any Garbodor decks. Huzzah. Faced 3 evolving decks, if it is what we think it is. It could also be Zoropod. Zoropod being a much easier matchup than the mirror. In my opinion, at least. Pretty nice opening when you have Ultra Ball. Always pleased when you have Ultra Ball. And when you play 2 Brigette, you can be fairly content that it's unlikely that they'll both be prized. Oh, they lead Latios. That's pretty bad for us. Especially if it is mirror. Oh no, it's a mirror. So let's grab a Lele. Brigette not prized, excellent. A couple of our Rowlets are, which is not great. Stretcher is as well. Okay, that's really not great, especially if this one will go down to early Latios pressure. And annoyingly, it's oftentimes the key who can get more Decidueyes up. But we're going to have to main Zoroark here. If nothing else, just to get us out of our bad hand. Now, there's nothing stopping him going for Zoroark Guzma, so we can't really commit this, even though we want to. So we'll just have to pass. Oh dear. They're going to go Dartrix off the bat. Let's see what else they can come up with. Choice Band to the bench. Lele. Grabbing good old Sycamore. Gonna get a fresh hand. Looking for DC, no doubt. They can start using the Latios. Getting rid of a couple of Decidueyes is good for us. So they have the GX. Stretcher. Oh boy, they could be... Looks like they got themselves a rare candy. Oh no. Two candies, in fact. The second one was traded off for a few more cards. Feather Arrow. I wonder if they miss DC. That could be really good for us. Haven't played it down yet. Float Stone. Seeing as though, yeah, wow, missed it. That's great for us. So I want to Guzma here, so we'll get rid of the Float Stone instead of the Guzma. I want to deal with the Latios if possible, because it is such a big threat in the mirror. Not enough damage to go for it though. Was it greedy? I guess we just take the Dartrix KO. He'll probably proactively bring up Latios next turn anyway, because he can ping and do shenanigans. I don't know, maybe not. We have something that resists it in the active now, so... Ooh, getting the stretcher is really important. Seeing as though we only have 2 Rowlets. The others being prized. Okay, they're just going to go for the Decidueye. Try and combat us. And also gives us an N, which isn't too bad actually. Saves us the job of doing it for him. Getting Acerola's insane. Gonna see another ping. And we're gonna get some beats, it looks like. The other float stone. Am I just dumping that one as well? I think we dump the grass energy because we're going to be Acerola-ing. We can get 2 trades in on the same Zoroark, which is pretty cool. So we want to go Dartrix. Even though we can trade again, I would still go Dartrix here because rare candying this one would just be too vulnerable to devolving. So we'll get our Acerola off. Do all of our attachments and all that good stuff. Do I want to... I think I want to sack off an N here. Everything else looks pretty tasty. Another Evosoda for another Dartrix is pretty good. We'll start overwhelming him with our big birds now. At least in theory. And we'll do our own beats back to him. And we'll see if he has his Acerola. Or her Acerola, I should say. My apologies. Mind Jack currently capping out at 180. They attach to the bench, so no Acerola. They can, however, stand in retreat to protect their GX, which sounds pretty wise, if possible. But, I don't know, maybe they want to keep up with damage because they would only be using their GX attack, which is quite slow. They chose to get rid of a couple of basics, so he's trying to fill his bench with more Decidueye, it looks like. Which makes sense, but if he puts a Rowlet down, he has to be concerned about us pressuring them. If we do 40, then he has to rare candy. My goodness, sorry. And 2 are already in the discard. I wonder what they'll go for. Okay, they're going to start spreading on both Dartrix. Interesting. Let's see a trade. Probably should have traded first. And we're going to see Righteous Beating. 130. Good old chunk. Getting another N is nice. I think I'm going to end pre-trade. Getting rid of a Dartrix seems pretty good here. Getting rid of Field Blower might be better. We have so many Rowlet's prized. We'll Ultra Ball this away. Choice Band won't be relevant for a few turns. I think this is right. Keep slot open for next turn's Ultra Ball. Although it could well be just for a Zoroark next turn. I'm going to start trying to spread on his dudes. As you do. Oh wait, I need to bench this, right? Yeah. So the Ultra Ball can be spent on the Zoroark, which is fine. We're already equipped for that. Well, there's one of them. And we're able to pick up a Rowlet straight away to replenish our bench if I don't want to discard it with Ultra Ball. We'll see though. Oh, they play Special Charge. Just for the one that we just got rid of. They're going to Ultra Ball. So currently, our board state is looking a lot stronger than theirs. But they may be able to recover it here if they're able to get a couple more bench Pokemon. Go for a Mind Jack response. Even a Razor Leaf response seems pretty good. They're going to see a Rowlet. Float Stone to the Rowlet and an N. It's a shame. Our 4 cards were actually pretty insane. These are far from insane, but we do have the Stretcher to get back the GX if we want it. Assuming we get knocked out here. If not, our hand is still really good. You see a Feather Arrow. Going on more of these? Yeah, thought as much. Have DCE. No. Well, that's a real problem for them, I would say. Okay. Getting a bunch of stuff. Ooh, this is a nice start for us. Now, Mind Jack is going to be pretty good if I want to attack, but I still want to draw cards predominantly. Getting ourselves into an N would be really good. The Latios hasn't actually been as important as I would have thought. Okay, let's trade again. Ooh, we got N. Insane. Do we still want to N is the question. Stand in 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Only if we get a Choice Band is it worth it. Standing in is still good for forcing the 7 prize game. Choice Band is unlikely to be hit. Seems like we only get 2 and we're drawing 3. We only have 2 in deck and we're drawing 3 cards. I think we just go super aggro. We can hedge our bets with Decidueye pings to the bench if we want to next, if we miss the choice band off this. We want to put back some of this stuff, because we'll be taking Rowlets from prizes, right? It does make our choice band odds a little bit lower. We do hit 2 though, which is pretty good. Big knockout. And in theory, we're fairly end-proof with 2 GXs on the bench. We have a lot of things set up. We see the rare candy into Decidueye. Obviously, you can't attack with the Zoroark because we can KO it. Has to attach to the Lele. It's a story of whiff DCE from our opponent, and that was really awkward for them. I'm going to stretch it back some of the Zoro pieces and the Espeon, and you'd imagine they'd hit us with N at this point. There it is. We've got ourselves some good old trade fodder. Gonna see the ping so that he can get the energy drive knockout. So we're at 140 right now. 160. And there's choice band. Insane. Nice work. Trade. You cheeky little draw. Drawing cards is good. Gets you into outs. Gets you into winning games. Not too bad. We were able to take down a mirror as well as 1 Metagross, and then we were able to, well, we weren't able to beat the other Metagross. Maybe a tough rub of the green there. I need to look back at that first game and see where we went wrong. I know we went for on turn 2, we went to a 0 card hand size, which is probably not great because our trades didn't bail us out. Maybe it was too greedy on my part. That's something to analyze, but overall, that is going to be the list. It's a lot of fun, as we all saw. Get to ping stuff with Decidueye, which is always great, and we get to draw cards with Zoroark as well. So it's a dream combo for having fun. It may show up in London. I think it's a powerful archetype, and probably in amongst tier 2. Definitely in the top 10 decks, I would say. And yeah, that is going to be my list, guys. Let me know what you think down below of my list, the archetype in general, what changes need to be made, what are you playing in your deck that I'm not, is it going to show up in London, all of these things. I'd love to hear the conversation down below. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've only just recently smashed 8K, and we're hoping to move on to 10 and even further beyond that in future as well. So we are really proud of that, and thanks for the support, everyone, all the new subs as well. If you're making it this far, clearly there's something going right with our content, so there you go. Yeah, please leave a like to this video if you did, and it's been Joe from OmniPoke, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.